like something out of a museum. It doesn't even have a high-tech flight control system. But the Antonov An-225 is still going strong despite being almost 30 years old.
Joining the Antonov An-225.
I am at the airport in Prague and I'm about to board the largest aircraft in the world, a huge cargo plane. I've downloaded an app onto my smartphone to communicate live with fans who want to take part in the experience. Yes, I am the only girl. I'm traveling with 6 male flight engineers and 10 technicians. As well as Captain Dmitry Antonov, whose name just happens to be the same as the plane's. He is proud of his plane.
Everybody wants to see, because it's only one in the world, in every CC. How is it flying? 6 engine, cargo, and where is the build? Ah, it's Russia? No, not Russia. Ukraine. Oh, how Ukrainian Ukrainian can make this aircraft?
The cargo hold alone is 43 meters long. It looks like a huge tunnel. The plane will deliver a generator. Yesterday it was loaded onto this truck in Pilsen, Czech Republic. It will travel 14,000 kilometers to replace a broken generator at an aluminium plant in Perth, the capital of Western Australia. For now, it's traveling by road. Very slowly. We need almost 4 hours to cover 100 kilometers. After a long day, I'd have preferred to go a bit faster. We arrive at Prague airport at 2 in the morning. The plane is already waiting. Early next morning, the nose cone is opened up so the generator can be loaded. I've never seen this done before. It's a lengthy process. Cranes and ramps are needed to heave the generator in, and they take hours to set up. As I wait, I have a chat with flight manager Vitaly Chost.
We had to do a lot of certification work to prove that we are good enough to operate to Australia.
Didn't they trust a Ukrainian company?
It doesn't depend on the nation. It depends on proficiency of the airline. And each airline must prove that their proficiency level is good enough to operate safely to Australia.
More and more fans are writing to me. The excitement is rising. This plane is something else, 84 meters long and almost 20 meters high. German logistics company DB Schenker chartered the plane to transport the generator. Why such a huge plane?
This Antonov is the only plane that can load over 100 tons. The generator weighs 117 tons. That's the equivalent of 117 Volkswagen Beetles. No other plane can do this.
There was no question of using a ship. It would have taken 6 weeks for the generator to arrive. The Australian aluminium firm would have lost thousands each week buying in electricity from elsewhere. The technicians build a ramp to load the generator. It takes 7 hours before it's finally in the hold. Ready for takeoff, and I'm getting a bit nervous. The plane now weighs 400 tons. How will it ever get off the ground? I'm only allowed to be in the world's biggest cockpit with Captain Antonov and his crew when we are not in the air. 12 hands are needed to fly this former military plane. I barely notice the takeoff. It's slow and pleasantly smooth. The first leg of the journey will take us to Turkmenistan. I'm in the back with the technicians who are responsible for loading and maintaining the plane. It feels just like a normal plane, but without windows. Stefan Robel of DB Schenker is also on the plane. The company paid Antonov over $2 million for the flight. What is the price based on?
First of all, the route. Then the weight of the cargo. How many stops will there be? What will the plane do when we've arrived in Australia? Will it go back to Europe empty? Or will it do a job in Asia?
5 hours later, we are in Turkmendashi in Turkmenistan. Here, fuel costs half of what it does in other countries of the region. We'll have to stop for fuel twice more before landing in Australia. I'm not allowed to film in the airport. Time for a break with Captain Antonov in the cockpit. The first leg of my trip is over. Tonight we head on to India. After a few minutes aloft, calm returns to the cabin. The technicians take a break. I am traveling in the world's largest airplane, the Antonov 225. The second leg of my trip takes me from Turkmenistan to India. We've already been traveling for a day. We communicate using a bit of English and a bit of Russian. We even share breakfast. I have no idea what kind of fruit this is, but I'm game to try it. It's a bit sour, a little bitter. I feel like I'm part of the crew.
We are constantly together in this machine for 2 to 3 months, both when working and in our leisure time. We're colleagues and friends, like a family.
With an app, I can communicate with my followers all over the world. I haven't got reception up here, but I'll soon be able to answer questions. We first took off in Prague. Our next stops are India and Malaysia. We are flying at 800 kilometers per hour. We arrive in Hyderabad, India, in the middle of the night. I hardly feel a thing when our 400-ton machine lands on the tarmac. On the ground, the technicians disappear under the plane to check the tires, brakes and hydraulics. That's routine after landing, but today there was a problem with the landing gear.
It's not broken. As I said, it doesn't work properly in this case, but it's not broken.
Did they fix it already?
No. We are trying to solve this issue.
It's the middle of the night, but hundreds of airplane aficionados are here on the runway, along with a few airport employees who hung on after their shifts. The Antonov is a sensation. It's the world's largest airplane. Some enthusiasts are even allowed on board. I'm back online, and my fans are eager for answers. Oh, the questions. No, there is no dinosaur in the cargo space. That's a power generator.
Well, we got permission after 22 days of hard work with DGCA as well as the GMR airport. So it's an honor to have it over here. And coming in the South Asia Pacific region for the first time. So it's really a matter of pride for us.
The only one who's not so enthusiastic is Vitaly Shost. He has a lot of paperwork to attend to. Permits, customs forms, and ordering food for tomorrow. He's got pressing things to attend to, but now he has to stay with the guests. And I want to ask him something too.
It makes my job more difficult, you know, because I need to drop my things, my retired things, and pay attention to all of them. But still, nobody rejected me to do my official duties.
Out on the runway, the Antonov plane is not the only star. Captain Dmitry Antonov has been welcomed with a cake. I think it's a little bit too sweet for him, but he feels honored.
I remember one more time in Honolulu, when I first coming to Hawaii. It's approximately the same. We have flowers, and but without the stick on head.
Does it make you proud?
Yeah.
30 degrees.
We spent the next day in the airport hotel. After 18 hours in the air, the crew is entitled to a break. An aluminium plant is paying $3 million for the generator and the transport. The Antonov 225 consumes a lot of fuel, about 16 tons an hour, but aviation fans seldom care about the environmental impact.
Of course, we strive to work together with airlines whose engines have low CO2 emissions.
So why did Schenker take such a gas guzzler this time?
Because we couldn't break the generator down into small parts. It's one piece, a unit. We can't saw it down the middle to make two parts out of it so we could load it onto a smaller plane.
Shortly before midnight, we check out of the hotel and go back to the airport. We are scheduled to take off in 2 hours, but everything is moving so slowly. We have to fill out lists, wait in lines. The crew says no other airport is so slow. Why are we being checked like normal passengers? The flight manager is anxious. He wishes we'd left the hotel earlier.
We will be late with departure because of all of this.
Okay, what does it mean? Problems in Kuala Lumpur then?
No, maybe I will have problems with my management because our policy is just keep the schedule. It's my fault.
Okay.
I should have known it.
An hour later, we are in the transport bus on the runway. It's 3 a.m. I marvel at these men who don't seem fazed by moving from one time zone to the next. Almost half the journey is over. Our next and last stopover will be Kuala Lumpur. It's the next evening. We've been here for 20 hours now. We have to get moving. But when Captain Antonov is standing on the runway instead of sitting in the cockpit, then something's not quite right. For 10 years, the Ukrainian has been flying the Antonov 225, the world's biggest plane, a cargo aircraft for oversized payloads. I've joined him and his crew to fly from Prague to Perth, Australia. Right now we're in Kuala Lumpur, but it's time to move.
We have to start in 15 minutes. Then we can talk about everything.
On board, the crew speaks Russian and Ukrainian. And I don't understand much, except that right now they are under pressure.
Just waiting, no flight plan in the system in Kuala Lumpur Tower. We're waiting. Vitaly calling to office about this.
Vitaly Shost is the flight manager. Every time I see him, he's in a rush, on the phone with papers in his hands. His colleague in Europe sent the flight plan to the air traffic controllers last night. Now, just before takeoff, the plane has been given another departure route and everything has to be adjusted.
The man's name is Mitos.
Okay, can I get briefing to the briefing?
It's not our fault. This flight plan was filed 5 hours ago. It's the fault of Malaysian air traffic controllers.
The colleague from the airport's operating company has to find a solution. I feel a bit sorry for him.
Should be changed first, and then it'll be okay. Yeah.
And indeed, we take off 2 hours later than planned. The last 4,000 kilometers from Kuala Lumpur to Perth. Too little sleep, stress and jet lag. The technician sees every opportunity to get some rest. I ought to do the same, but I get caught up in my fans' messages from yesterday. Then we were on the runway. It's 40 degrees Celsius and oppressively humid.
We have to remove the part, or it'll overheat.
That doesn't sound very reassuring. What happens if one of the 6 engines breaks down? We could continue to fly, but we wouldn't be allowed to take off.
We can't connect it.
Vasily Savchenko can't leave till he has checked all the engines. Meanwhile, in the air-conditioned terminal building, the German representative of DB Schenker has finished his shift and his Asian colleague takes over. He'll hand over the generator to the aluminium plant in Australia. Everyone's back on board. We crossed the equator long ago and we are now approaching Perth. We hear that 50,000 people are waiting for the Antonov to land. This is the first time the world's largest airplane has come to Australia. As it turns out, the crowd is only 30,000, but what's the difference? This is still a major event.
We got here at 4:30 just to be ahead of the queue.
Originally I thought the C-17 Glowmaster and the B-52 bomber went on the Air Force Base in Guam. I thought that was the heaviest aircraft in the world, but until now it's the Antonov 225.
We never thought the Antonov 225 would come to Australia. We've actually talked about one day going to England to see it, so we're very excited to see it here.
After traveling for 4 days by way of Turkmenistan, India and Malaysia, we finally arrived at our destination. Due to the 400 tons of cargo, we were unable to make up for the time we've lost this morning. That's why everybody jumps into action now. The technicians have to have the 117-ton generator out of the plane and onto a truck by this evening. By now I know that's easier said than done. Ramps, cranes, it all takes time. And they have to reload the aircraft. Vitaly Shos tells me they've accepted a new contract on short notice to transport a 23-ton turbine rotor to Italy. It's been 8 hours since we landed. Finally, the generator is on the truck. Tomorrow morning it will be driven to the aluminium plant. The whole commission is worth millions for the Schenker Logistics company.
This wasn't an inexpensive solution for the recipient, but it saved them 8 weeks. So the transport costs of about $3 million were worth it. Not having a generator costs more money than the cost of transporting one from Prague to here in Perth.
For Vitaly Shos, it's been a stressful trip. His employer, Antonov Airlines, wants to attract customers all over the world.
You can see that now we are opening a new branch of our activity here in Australia, and we will try to develop cooperation between industrial companies in Australia and Antonov company with respect of using of this airplane.
Bread and salt have been brought here to welcome Captain Dmitry Antonov. Courtesy of the Ukrainian ambassador, almost 50,000 Ukrainians live in Australia. And I've begun the last stage of my journey. In 3 hours, the generator, my followers and I will arrive at the aluminium plant. When I get back to Perth this evening, the Antonov An-225 will already be in the air, flying back to Europe.